My name is Nicholas Broyles, and this presentation concerns the idea of can I use strength training to improve endurance performance. So generally speaking, the difference between these two is that strength training involves higher weight with fewer repetitions, whereas endurance training involves lower weight with more repetitions and causes an increase in the body's demand of oxygen, so it's considered an aerobic form of exercise, whereas strength training is considered an anaerobic form of exercise because the body doesn't actively utilize oxygen. The first study heavily focuses on the term work economy, which is defined as the oxygen requirement for a given speed or power output. And while this is very similar to the term work efficiency is not as practical to use in fitness research due to other variables that are hard to accurately measure. The first study by Hoff and colleagues involved 19 male cross-country skiers with strength training performed 3 times per week for 8 weeks. And they used a cable pulley apparatus for 3 sets of 6 repetitions, and that simulated movements of the actual sport of skiing, and endurance training was evaluated by use of a treadmill and ski ergometer. Now, although there were many different variables within the study, I found that the time to exhaustion results were the most important, which reflected a statistically significant difference both within the high resistance training group as well as between the two groups. And the resistance group showed a 56% increase, whereas the control group only showed a 25% increase in time to exhaustion. And this was explained by the adaptations caused by strength training, leading to increased work economy, which then makes a standard submaximal load relatively easier. And the table on the right proves that there is no significant increase in body mass from strength training, considering that strength training causes more of a neural adaptation opposed to hypertrophy. The second term I chose was endurance, which is also known as stamina, and it is defined as the ability to sustain prolonged physical effort. I chose this term endurance because it encompasses many other related terms such as VO2, which I will also be referencing in this next study, and VO2 is the volume of oxygen consumption, which is determined by the difference between the amount of oxygen inhaled versus exhaled. The next study by McMohan and colleagues evaluated female duathletes, which involves both running and cycling. More specifically, they wanted to see the performance effects during a 5-minute all-out performance after prolonged submaximal work, and this was done over 11 training weeks with 2 strength training sessions per week. The results showed that VO2 and heart rate were reduced during the last 2 hours of a 3-hour prolonged cycling trial. However, there were no statistically significant changes found in running. There was improved cycling power output during the 5-minute all-out test, and it was practically different between groups. Lastly, running distance was significantly different between groups during the 5-minute all-out test. So the explanation due to these results is that reduced VO2 and heart rate shows that there is reduced fatigue in the athlete, so the endurance and strength group is then capable of a higher power output for a 5-minute all-out test. Additionally, this 5-minute all-out performance is primarily an anaerobic metabolic pathway in which the strength training aids in anaerobic adaptations. Also, a reduced VO2 indicates that there is reduced energy consumption in the body, which then indicates that there is better conservation of glycogen stores during the submaximal exercise, which conserves these glycogen stores and energy for the 5-minute all-out performance. The final answer to this question is that one of the most pronounced effects is the improvement in work economy, thereby reducing fatigue when compared to pre-strength training efforts. Secondly, endurance is increased due to numerous biological factors enabling better oxygen consumption. Also, one of the studies showed that there was substantial benefits with only incorporating strength training 2 days per week. However, it is important that the training is specific to the sport, such as the first study that trained ski athletes on a ski ergometer. Lastly, it is shown that strength training does not cause hinder performance since there is no significant increase in body mass.